Thanks for tuning in, everyone, on this Wednesday for your WB First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Henry Blakes here with meteorologist Sydney Goldberg. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Henry, it's good. It's the middle of the week.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end of the week and the weekend, but unfortunately, more heat on the way.
Yeah, we got the heat, and also you may have been seeing our posts on our WB websites and Facebook page. You got a little bit of activity going on.
Yeah, we've got some news. We now have Tropical Storm Gabrielle. That's the G name. So as of the latest advisory that came out earlier this morning, about an hour ago, 10 a.m., it's located well east of the northern parts of the Leeward Islands, but sustained winds now up to 45 miles an hour, and that's why it's been designated the G name, Gabrielle.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that a lot of people have been asking with the tropical depression, when was it going to become a storm? Why was it just a wave and not a storm depression earlier? That's because it didn't have that closed center of circulation, but now since we have that, plus the max winds, we've been allowed to upgrade to that tropical storm.
Yeah, so now we have the official National Hurricane Center cone forecast track, and you know what, it's really going to be very slow to develop. You can see that from tomorrow, Thursday, all the way into Saturday, it's still expected to be a tropical storm. It's really not until the weekend that it'll start to get into an environment that's more conducive, and then it could reach that Category 1 hurricane status. And so that's going to be several days, but interests in Bermuda will have to keep an eye on the forecast there, but for us, no threat to the Gulf Coast.
That's great, and even for the East Coast, should have, I'm guessing, going to have minimal impacts there as well.
Yeah, if you notice in the tropical cone there, it's going to take that right turn, and that's likely what's going to happen there. Stay out into the Atlantic. This is what it looks like right now. Gabrielle, she's messy. She doesn't have, she has a circulation now, but it's very broad, and the reason for that is if you look in the water vapor, this storm, the system is battling dry air. So where that orange color is, that's that drier area, and you notice there's no blue, there's no convection or thunderstorm activity in that area. That's why it's looking very sloppy right now, and it's also why it's going to take a really long time, several days, for it to strengthen. That's why you can stay a tropical storm for the next couple of days. But it has a friend right behind it, a tropical wave that's moving off the coast of Africa. So the National Hurricane Center is monitoring that area as well.
Yeah, and you may notice one thing over the next 48 hours, next 2 days, very low, just only a 10% chance of any further development with that tropical wave. Over the next 7 days, only bumping up to 20%. Now, these numbers, they are rather low. That doesn't mean it won't become a tropical depression, but still something we'll have to watch.
Yeah, and so if it does, we've now crossed off Gabrielle. Gabrielle's tropical storm. The next name on the list is the H name, and that is Umberto. So we still have plenty of time to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of good news for us, as Sydney was mentioning, not looking at it impacting the Gulf, let alone minimal impacts possible, if any, along the East Coast.
Right.
But there is still some areas of concern, especially with the water temperatures. You'll notice in the Atlantic, very warm in the 80s. The same is going on here in the Gulf, but for the moment, we still have the front or two that's down there, a lot of shear going on. So that's pretty much not good for any type of tropical.
Exactly. So when we looked at the cone with Gabrielle, it wasn't forecast to become a hurricane until it got more closer to this area. One, warm sea surface temperatures. Two, also less wind shear, so it's not going to get shredded up by that dry air or wind going in different directions. So that's why it's really not going to intensify much until it gets to this area here.
Absolutely. And thankfully, region-wide, we're not looking at anything terrible. Here is a nice morning. Got a couple of fair weather clouds out there, but 85 in the Baton Rouge area. Trying to find a little bit of a cool spot. I guess that would have to be Macomb at 83.
You want to call that cool, low 80s?
Is that nothing like what we had a few Mondays ago, those 60s?
Fall? Not here.
Not here. Hopefully it'll be here by at least Halloween. If it doesn't, we know we got a problem then. And our weather for the time being looking great across the region. Had a couple of isolated shower storms pop up earlier this morning, but notice across much of the deep south, except for the non-sunny Sunshine State, we got a little bit of cloud cover here across the region, up through Mississippi and even into Texas. But look at this frontal system that we have here across the central U.S. and the west. It doesn't really look like that's going to really impact us later on in the week. It's going to be missing us because because of the jet stream. You may have heard last week where they had the tornado in southeast Utah, and then the storm track goes farther north into the plains. That's why they had that tornado outbreak over the weekend in North Dakota with the numerous tornadoes, and that's still where the storm track is right now. Now, there is a weak little bit of high pressure in the eastern U.S. Notice it's kind of getting crunched in between the two lows, and it's going to be forced a little bit farther to the southwest. So that's kind of going to keep our rain chances minimal.
We've just been stuck underneath that high pressure, and high pressure just means dry and hot, which is what we've been experiencing, and we're going to continue to see that.
That's how it's going to be. And the thing is, we do have a potential for severe storms, not here at home, thankfully, not across the deep south, but those across parts of the central southern plains and the Rockies. We got a chance of severe storms. Not necessarily Denver, but Colorado Springs and down to Amarillo, especially around the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. That's where they're potentially going to get some hail, as well as maybe a few tornadoes and heavy rain later on today. But thankfully, that's not going to impact us at home. So we're just going to look at your region futurecast, and then we'll bring it home for your day planner. But you'll notice much of the activity for today well off to our west. Maybe a spotty isolated shower or storm or two, since we are technically in between those two low pressures, but high pressure is going to be our big thing for today. You'll notice for the afternoon and evening, that's where that severe thunderstorm threat across Texas, Oklahoma, and parts of Colorado is going to be. But here across the WAFB viewing area, we're still looking at maybe a few clouds, but can't rule out a stray spotty shower or storm for the afternoon. We're going to show you this on our local futurecast. And notice it's not very much, but the cap could break, and this time of year, if it does break in your location, you may be one of the few fortunate ones to get a little bit of rain.
Help briefly cool you down from the warm temperatures, but just very isolated in nature. That's what we're going to continue to see.
Yeah, so for now, no need to really bring the umbrellas, but temperatures are still going to be mostly in the 90s for today, and I know we're showing a lot around New Iberia and west of Baton Rouge, south of Lafayette. It's overdoing it a bit, but that's just showing you that we could get a stray shower.
And also with models, take the placement with a grain of salt, because they don't do a good job with pinpointing exactly where we'll see those showers or storms popping up.
Right. It's just going with the estimates that I think it's going to happen. But 70s, they should start breaking out at least around 9 to 10 o'clock for tonight, if not earlier, for some locations. And one last thing I want to show you is going to be your 7-day. You're going to notice that the 90s are going to stick around for the long-term rain chances. Remaining very minimal. If you're lucky, you may reach some upper 60s for your morning lows. Normal high, I think around 89 degrees. We're not going to be near that anytime soon. So for the moment, we're stuck with dry summer-like weather for the long term.
Yeah, and so Jeff Morrow will have more details on the rest of the day as well as the rest of the work week, including the weekend, and that does include LSU football forecast. So we'll have more of that for you on 9 News at noon right here on WAFB.